Listos para parte 34, donde Nico va a compartir con ustedes unos calaveritas más adultos. Y si alguien está interesado en tener su propio calaverita escrito para ellos, sígame, mándame un mensaje con el nombre y 3 características de la persona y ya vemos si podemos hacer algo para ustedes.
Hola, estoy ahora otra vez de nuevo aquí para leerles otras calaveritas que están dedicadas. Una para mí, perdón por ser primero, para la mujer, una y otros 2 amigos. Y las últimas 3 son extras, son de pilón, ¿ok? La primera es para mí, que dice calaverita para Nico, el enamorado mandilón. La parca llegó una noche festiva, buscando a Nico con copa activa. Lo halló brindando con voz de trovador, cantando borracho por puro amor. Ay, flaquita, no te ofendas, si mando flores, mi Betsy las aprueba. La muerte rió en tono burlón, este ya trae anillo y del corazón. Intentó llevárselo la huesuda al panteón, pero Betsy gritó, ni lo toques, bribona. Y con tragos, risas y canción, la muerte se dio. Nico, síguele, mandilón. Ese soy yo. La siguiente es calaverita para Betsy, la boricua viajera. Viajaba Betsy por cielo y tierra. La muerte decía, esta nunca se encierra. Con malla, tequila y la voz bien clara gritó, vale madre, la vida se encara. La flaca intentó seguirle el paso, pero Betsy voló con estilo y caso. Soy hija de la chingada y orgullosa boricua. Si me quieres llevar, me llevas con música. Con pasaporte, sonrisa y coraje, la huesuda dijo, qué pinche personaje. Al verla grabar con ritmo y pasión, susurró, esta no muere, vive en cada canción. Sí, esta es para Betsy. Ahora, esta calaverita es para Carlos, un amigo. Dice el trotamundos bebedor, perdón. A Carlos le dijo a la parca un día, qué vida tan buena la tuya, alegría. Con copa en mano y boleto en la otra, te vas de viaje, ni el diablo te nota. Pero en Cancún la muerte llegó, con tequila doble se lo ligó. Carlos brindó, salud compañera, sin saber que era su última borrachera. Le ofreció casorio la huesuda bella, y él respondió, casarme ni con ella. La flaca rió con beso mortal. Tranquilo mi amor, el viaje es final. Este fue el de Carlos. Esta es una calaverita para Lili. El título es La cantante vale verga, ¿ok? Nada más así. Cantaba Lili con voz poderosa. La muerte pensó, qué ruda y hermosa. Pero al pedirle un tema para empezar, Lili soltó un vale verga sin pensar. Tranquila mi niña, vengo en son de boda. A ver si el Cris no corre a media boda. La flaca rió, brindando con ron. A este matrimonio le pongo sazón. Entre coros, gritos y puro tequila, la huesuda quiso unirse a la fila, pero Lili gritó sin perder el glamour. Ni muerta me apagas mi show, cabrón. Vale verga el rumor. Y estos son los últimos 3, como de pilón. La muerte llegó con hambre, buscando a un pecador, pero al verlo sin camisa, se le antojó el favor. Moles, doña. Ahora, otro. Murió una viuda contenta, con sonrisa y buen humor. Dijo, si me lleva la flaca, que sea con vivador. Ay, golosa. Pero espérame, ¿verdad? La última es, ayer se murió un pene, su alma anda penando. Aprieta el culito que a ti te anda buscando. ¿Quién sabe? Puede ser el próximo. Bueno, esos son los que me tocaron, ¿ok? Bye.
Click the heart if you have heard of La Llorona. If you have not, stick around for part 35 because we are going to talk about her story, her folklore, why she's attached to Dia de Muertos, and why there's songs about her, stories about her that have attached themselves to this tradition. And as many of our videos, the origins may surprise you. It does go back to pre-Hispanic times where there was the Aztecs stories were told of a snake woman. She was a goddess and something was happening to her people, and her cry was, my children, where will I take you? which is eerily familiar to the Llorona cry, which is, ay, mis hijos, ¿dónde están mis hijos? Just saying it, it's like, ah. So I remember decades ago, I was at a event for at a cemetery, and they kind of reenacted her grief, her cry, like this whole thing. And I was just like, la 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 la. I'm not a spooky person, so any type of ghost stories like that is not my not my thing. So it's just weird to be able to say her cry, I guess you could call it. When we fast forward to colonial times in Ciudad de Mexico and in Puebla, there are written accounts of a woman dressed in white along the riverbanks or near water, crying and searching for her children. So it's definitely a story of grief and regret and searching. And for those of you who don't know the story, the full story is it's a tragedy story. Kind of reminds me of like Greek tragedy, but I guess this is Mexican tragedy stories. So the legend is that the Llorona is stuck between the two worlds, and during Dia de Muertos, because that veil is so thin, that's when you can hear her cries more. And basically, she was this beautiful woman, had fallen in love, she was betrayed, and out of her despair, she drowns her children and immediately regrets it. And that's where this cry and this searching for her children comes from. And the only thing that I can pull out of it for me is just the weight of our choices and how sometimes we have to live with those choices even in the afterlife. Comment below on your take of La Llorona, especially if you grew up hearing her story, and hope those of us who didn't understand the attraction to this folklore, I guess you can call it. But now you know all about La Llorona and why she's tied to Dia de Muertos. Very few people don't know about the movie Coco, but it's not the only movie that celebrates Dia de Muertos. Part 36, here's just 3 others that you can consider adding to your watch list depending on the age of the people in your family. So first is Salma's Big Wish. This one doesn't get talked about enough. It was actually done after Coco, so people compare it like that it's not as good of quality, and it's not, but it's still cute. It's about a teenage girl who never met her parents, and she travels to the land of the remembered to uncover things. I like that it captures small town Mexico, so that's why I like it. Then there's The Book of Life, which came out a few years before Coco, and it's produced by Guillermo del Toro, and I am a huge fan of his. He did Shape of Water and Pinocchio, and he has won Oscars. And if you've never seen it, look for his speech when he got his star in Hollywood. Anyway, you can feel that this movie is made by a proud Mexicano. It's more of a romance movie, but it has great music. And if you pay attention, you're going to notice a lot of the things that we've talked about in this series. What's curious is that they also use the phrase land of the remembered. And then the last one is not really a Dia de Muertos movie. It's more of like a ghost movie, but it goes along the lines of, it's called La Leyenda de Nahuala. So it's like that whole like Llorona thing that we just talked about in the previous video. And I like it because it's based on a legend from 1807 in Puebla, like a real true life legend, and they made it more cartoony, but it's still kind of spooky. So it's good for like older kids, like maybe 10, 11, 12, if your family is into more of the spooky stuff. And there actually is a sequel, well, not a sequel, but it's the Leyenda de la Llorona from the same the same people who did this movie. And of course, we started with Coco. That's a love letter to todas las familias mexicanas, and we are going to talk more in detail about in the next couple of videos.